Should people with domestic violence backgrounds or restraining orders lose access to their guns? That's the question being considered by the U.S. Supreme Court beginning today. And the answer will have huge implications for how courts across the country deal with domestic violence. CBS 2 investigator Megan Hickey joins us live with how the debate is impacting survivors here in Illinois. Megan.
Right, Erica. The case U.S. versus Rahimi involves a 30-year-old law that prohibits people under domestic violence restraining orders from having guns. Survivors and advocates here in Illinois are watching this case closely because of the profound ripple effects it could have.
They must rule to disarm domestic abusers and protect survivors.
Domestic violence survivors and other advocates rallied outside the Supreme Court for the start of oral arguments. But more than 700 miles away, many Chicagoans are just as nervous for the ruling on
whether or not during the course of an order of protection that person should have access to firearms.
This case involves a Texas man who challenged the constitutionality of a law that took away his gun after he threatened a woman with a firearm while already under a restraining order from a former girlfriend. It's the law that should have taken a gun away from the Little Village man who killed his wife Karinas Gonzalez and their daughter in July after an order of protection was issued.
A woman is 5 times more likely to die at the hands of her abuser if her abuser has access to a gun.
Her laugh just like filled up rooms.
Deanna Mendoza understands that tragic statistic well. Her 31-year-old cousin, who we are not naming due to privacy concerns for her surviving children, left her legal gun-owning husband before he tracked her down, killed her, and took his own life in 2022. She believes, if anything, guns should be further restricted in domestic violence situations, and a decision to overturn the federal law.
And it will be a slap in the face to victims that are still on this earth that had to deal with gender-based gun violence, and for the fallen victims that are not here.
Many gun rights organizations support Rahimi's Second Amendment right. The network advocating against domestic violence joined at least a dozen other local organizations in an amicus brief spelling out their concerns for Chicago area survivors and their ability to protect them in the future.
And so it's going to embolden a lot of really negative behavior and people who are already causing harm.
And the backup plan in Illinois, if this federal protection is overturned, is Karinas law, which would give law enforcement a clearer directive to seize guns from people in these situations. Advocates still hope it will be pushed through during this fall veto session. In the newsroom, Megan Hickey, CBS 2 Investigators.
Thank you, Megan.